EC2 Fundamentals Local Node Server. As we discussed in the previous video, the plan is to create a simple node.js app and deploy it on an EC2 instance. As the first step in this video, we are going to create a node.js server which listens on port 8080 and responds with the text "Hello World." I would like to keep the application simple so that we can focus on EC2. To test it, we are going to access the following URL on the browser. The URL is localhost:8080. The expected result is "Hello World" printed on the page. The steps that we will be doing in this video is as follows: creating a GitHub project, clone the GitHub project, write code to create node.js server, test it locally, push the code. We are going to need a GitHub repository to save the code. Then later we are going to clone the project onto an EC2 instance. We'll start with creating a GitHub repository. First, log into GitHub. Click Repositories, click New. Then you will get to the Create a New Repository page. Then enter the repository name. I will enter Simple Node Server as my repository name. Leave the public option selected to make the repository public. Check Add a README file option so that GitHub will automatically add a README file into your repository. Then click Create Repository. Next step is to clone the repository. To do that, on the repository page, click the button called Code. Then copy the HTTPS URL of the repository. Open your terminal and navigate to the folder where you want to clone your project. Type git clone and then paste your repository URL. Pressing enter will start cloning the project. Execute ls and observe that the project has been cloned. Then open your project in your IDE such as Visual Studio Code. Next step is to write code to create a node.js server. Start creating the file index.js. Then add this code. I'm going to describe what the code does. Line 1 imports the HTTP module. Line 3 creates a server object. Line 4 defines the content type of the response, which is HTML. Line 5 sets the content of the response to Hello World. Line 8 configures the server to listen on port 8080. The next step is to run the index.js file. For that, open the terminal. Then execute the command node space index.js. For this command to work, you must have installed node.js on your computer. Press enter to start the server, which will be listening on port 8080. Now it's the time to test the server. Open the browser and type localhost:8080 on the URL box. You should see Hello World on the page. After verifying that the code works, we are going to commit the code and push to GitHub. Execute git add command to stage the changes. Execute git commit command to commit the changes with a message. Then execute git push command to push the code to GitHub. Then navigate to GitHub and check if the code was pushed successfully. I'll leave a link to my GitHub project in the video description. The README file contains the instructions for installing node.js. Now that we have successfully created our node.js application, in the next video, we are going to launch an EC2 instance and deploy the node.js application on the EC2 instance.